Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. I am Ashfaq and in today's video we will create a complete automated CI/CD pipeline project using Bitbucket, SonarQube, JFrog Artifactory, Docker Hub and the Kubernetes. I will explain you in short the flow of our today's project. In our today's project, first of all we will build the EC2 instance for the Jenkins using the Terraform, and then we will build the pipeline using the Jenkins, in which if user makes any change on the Bitbucket repository, then that change will trigger the CI/CD pipelines, and then our pipeline will first do the Maven build from the code, and then it will perform the SonarQube analysis of the code. Then it will push the build to the Artifactory, JFrog Artifactory. After that, it will perform the Trivy FS scan of our code. Then it will perform the build and push of the Docker image. Then it will perform the Trivy image scan of the pushed Docker image. After that, it will deploy the resources using the manifest file on the Kubernetes. And then we will have our application accessible over the internet. And for every build we will get the email notification on our Gmail ID, and that email will have the Trivy FS scan and Trivy image scan and the complete build log as the attachment. So let's start building our today's project. This is my Windows 10 system on which I am having the Terraform installed. You can refer to this video on how to install the Terraform on the Windows system. I have already installed the AWS CLI on my system. You can download the AWS CLI from here and you can install it on your system. And from this link, you can download the Visual Studio Code and you can install it on your local system. So the first thing which we are going to do is to create the EC2 instance using the Terraform. So first of all, on my system I will create one folder and I will give it the name, and inside this folder I will create one more folder in which I will be keeping all my Terraform files, and I will give the name to this folder as Jenkins SonarQube VM. On the on the Visual Studio Code, I will open the folder which I have created just now, and under the Jenkins SonarQube VM folder I will create the main.tf file, and I will give the content to the main.tf file. So I will explain you what we are going to do through the Terraform. This is my AMI. You will have to change the AMI as per your region, and the instance type I am going to create is T2 large, and this is my key pair name which I am going to use to access my EC2 instance. This one key pair. If you don't have, you can create the key pair for your AWS account. And this would be the name of the EC2 instance. The disk size we are going to create is 40 GB, and we will create the security group with this name. And note one thing here, we are not going to create the VPC because every account has its default VPC. We will create the security group, and this security group will get mapped to default VPC of the account. So there is no need to create the VPC. If I go to my account, so if I go to VPC, so this is the default VPC in my account, tenancy default. Every account has the default VPC. So this would be the name of the security group, and inside the security group we are going to open these ports, inbound ports, and the user data we are providing this sh file. Through this sh file we are going to run multiple commands to install the packages in our newly created EC2 instance. I will save this file, and then I will create one more file called provider.tf, where we are going to register the provider. So this is the AWS provider which we are going to register here, and this would be the region of my EC2 instance. I will save this file also, and then finally I will create the install.sh file which Terraform is going to run in our newly created EC2 instance. So what Terraform is going to do to our EC2 instance using this install.sh, I will explain you in the short. First of all, it will update the system, then it will install the JDK in the system, and then it will install the Jenkins in our EC2 instance. Then it will install the Docker with these commands, and with these commands it will actually give the access to user Ubuntu and Jenkins, access to the Docker. Ubuntu user we will use on the terminal to communicate with the Docker, and Jenkins user will be used by the Jenkins pipeline script to communicate with the Docker. So it will give the access on the Docker to these two users, and finally it will run the SonarQube as the container with this command on our EC2 instance. And with this command it will install the tree in our EC2 instance, and finally it will install the Maven with these commands. I will save this file. I will go to the AWS portal now. I will go to IAM, users, create user. I will give the name cloud admin. Next, I will click here attach policies directly. I will give the administrator access. Next, create user. Okay, so user has been created. I will go to the user. I will go to security credentials, and here I will click on create access key. I will click here CLI. I will tick here next. I will give the description and create access key. I will copy the access key, and on the VS Code I will right click and click here on open in integrated terminal. I will give the command AWS configure. I will paste the copied access key, and from the portal I will copy the secret key and I will provide it here. So I have logged into AWS console through the CLI. On the AWS portal I will click on download CSV file and I will click on done. On the Visual Studio Code I will give the command Terraform init. Now I will give the command Terraform plan. So it is going to create these resources. You can review these resources which it is going to create, and then I will give the command Terraform apply -auto approve. Okay, so creation completed through the Terraform. If I go to AWS console EC2, instances, So this is the instance which has been created. And if I go to security, so these are the inbound rules which has been created inside the security group. I will copy the public IP and I will open the terminal on my local system, and I will go to session SSH. I will provide the public IP, username Ubuntu, advanced, private key. I will select my private key. Okay. If I give the command Jenkins hyphen hyphen version, so this is the version of the Jenkins which has been installed in my EC2 instance. And if I give the command docker hyphen hyphen version, so this is the version of the docker which has been installed in my system. And if I give the command trivi hyphen hyphen version, so this is the version of the trivi which has been installed in the EC2 instance. And if I give the command mvn hyphen hyphen version, so mvn could not be installed through the install.sh. We can install the mvn. I will give this command to install the maven. So this is the version of the maven which has been installed in my EC2 instance. And we are going to run the SonarQube as the container on our EC2 instance. So if I give the command docker ps, so this is the SonarQube container which is running in our system. So SonarQube is running as a container on our EC2 instance, and this is the container for the SonarQube. You might be practicing this project in multiple settings. So if you are going to shut down the EC2 instance, then you will have to first stop the SonarQube container with this command docker stop and the container ID. And once you are back after starting the EC2 instance, you will have to give the command docker ps hyphen a to get the container ID, and then you can run the command docker start and the container ID to start your container, and then you can continue your project. Next task is to set up the Jenkins. I will copy the public IP of the EC2 instance and I will browse it in the new tab with the port 8080. I will go to this place on the terminal. I will copy the password and I will provide it here. Install suggested plugins. I will create the new user called cloud user. I will set the password. Okay, so we are inside the Jenkins. Now it's time to install the required plugins. So I will go to manage Jenkins, plugins, available plugins, and the first plugin I will search Bitbucket. I will select this plugin and then I will search Artifactory. I will select these two plugins and then I will search Eclipse and I will select this Eclipse Timurin installer and then I will search the plugin SonarQube and I will select this plugin SonarQube scanner. Then I will search here gate and I will select this plugin Sonar Quality Gate and then Quality Gate. After that I will search here Docker. I will select Docker, Docker Commons, Docker Pipeline, Docker API, Docker Build Step, and cloud-based Docker Build and Push. So these are the plugins I want to install. I will click on install. Okay, so two required plugins got failed, Artifactory and the Docker Build Step. So I will go to home page. I will again go to manage Jenkins. To suppress this warning, go to configure which of these warnings are shown. And untick these two warnings. Plugins, available plugins, and I will search here Artifactory and then I will search docker build step, and I will again click on install. Okay, this time Artifactory and docker build step got installed. I will again go to uh, manage Jenkins, and this time we need to set up the tools which are required for our CICD pipeline. So I will go to tools and I will go to Docker, add Docker name. I will provide Docker, I will tick on install automatically, and I will select download from docker.net.com, and the second tool which we need is SonarQube scanner. So under the SonarQube scanner installation, I will click on add SonarQube scanner, and I will give the name sonar-scanner, and I will keep the tick on install automatically, install from the Maven Central, and then we need to install the tool called Maven. So under the Maven installation, I will click on add Maven, and the name I will provide as Maven, and I will untick this install automatically option because we have already installed the Maven in our server. So I will untick here. Then we need to provide the Maven home path here. So I will go to terminal and I will give the command here mvn version. So this is the path of the Maven in our server where our Maven has been installed. I will copy this path and I will provide it here. Apply and save. Next task is to set up the SonarQube. As explained earlier, we are running the SonarQube as a container on our EC2 instance. To access the SonarQube dashboard, I will copy the public IP of the EC2 instance and I will browse it on the new tab with the port 9000. default username and password is admin. I will set the new password. Okay, so we are inside the SonarQube dashboard. I will go to administration tab, and under the security I will go to users, and I will click here on update tokens. I will give the name token for Jenkins, and I will click on generate. Copy this token and save it on your local system, as once you go to the other tab this token will not appear again. Okay, now we have to provide this token under the credentials of the Jenkins. So I will go to Jenkins, manage Jenkins. Under security I will go to credentials, add credentials, and kind I will give secret text, and here I will paste the copied secret, and ID I will give SonarQube token, and I will click on create. Now we need to add the SonarQube server to the Jenkins. So I will go to manage Jenkins, I will go to system, and under the SonarQube servers I will click on add SonarQube, and the name I will provide SonarQube hyphen server, and URL I will provide http colon slash slash, and I will copy the private IP of the instance, and I will provide it here colon 9000, and do not forget the slash at the end. I will select the credentials in the drop down, apply, and save. I will go to SonarQube dashboard, and I will go to quality gates. So this is the default built-in gate. This is actually the threshold. So we are not going to create the custom quality gate. We are going to use the default quality gate for this project. And after the quality gate, we have to set up the webhook between the SonarQube and the Jenkins. So I will go to administration tab, and under the configuration drop down I will click on webhooks. I will click on create. Name I will provide Jenkins, and the URL I will provide in this URL. I will replace my private IP address of the EC2 instance and slash SonarQube hyphen webhook, and do not forget the slash at the end, otherwise you may get the errors during the build. And I will click on create. In this section of the video, we will configure the JFrog Artifactory. I will go to terminal of my server, and first of all I will make one directory for Artifactory on my server. I will go inside the directory, then I will create one file. I will provide the access, and we are going to run the JFrog Artifactory as the container on our EC2 instance, similar to SonarQube. So to run the Docker container for the JFrog Artifactory on our EC2 instance, I will give this command if I give the command docker ps. So this is the container for our JFrog Artifactory, and this is the container for the SonarQube. I will copy the public IP of the EC2 instance, and I will browse it on the new tab with the port 8082, as our JFrog Artifactory is running on the port 8082. Default username is admin and password is password. Get started. I will set the new password. Next, we need to set here the base URL. So I will give the base URL as http://public IP of the EC2 instance :8082, as our JFrog container is running on the port 8082. I will click on next. So this is the proxy option. I will skip here. create repositories, I will select Maven, next, and finish. Okay, so here you can see the repositories. These are the local repositories, and to see the artifacts you will have to go to this option, Artifactory and artifacts. Now we need to integrate the JFrog Artifactory with the Jenkins. I will go to Jenkins, manage Jenkins, credentials, add credentials, kind username with password, username admin, password. I will provide my JFrog Artifactory password. ID I will provide JFrog. Description I will provide JFrog, and I will click on create. Okay, so in this part of the video, we will actually create the pipeline script for our CICD. So first of all, we will create the app password on the Bitbucket and then add that password to the Jenkins. So this is my repository on the bitbucket.org. You can create your account on the Bitbucket and you can fork my repository. So under the account, you can see here setting symbol is there. Go to setting, personal Bitbucket setting, app password, and here you can create the app password. I have already created the app password in my account for the Bitbucket. To add the Bitbucket app password to the Jenkins, I will go to manage Jenkins, credentials, add credentials, username with password, and I will provide my username for the Bitbucket. This is my Bitbucket username and password, and I will provide the app password which I have created on the Bitbucket, and ID I will provide Bitbucket, and I will click on create. Okay, now we have to add the credentials for the Docker Hub into the Jenkins. So if you go to Docker Hub and if you go to account, my account, security, and here you can create the access token. I have already created the access token for my account, and note one thing here, the app password of the Bitbucket and the access token for the Docker Hub both are both would be visible once only. So copy the token and save it on your local system somewhere, because it will not reappear again. So to add the Docker Hub token to the Jenkins, I will go to manage Jenkins credentials, add credentials, kind username with password. I will provide my username for the Docker Hub, and password I will provide the access token created on the Docker Hub, and ID I will give Docker Hub, and I will click on create. Now I will go to my repository on the Bitbucket, and here I will create the Jenkins file. I will give the name Jenkinsfile, and I will start creating the pipeline script here. So first of all, I will start writing the pipeline script, and I will type here agent any, because we are not having any Jenkins agent, and I will define the tools here. So this is the Maven tool which we have installed in the Jenkins, and this was the name given to that tool. I will close the bracket here. After that, we will define the environment variables. So the first variable we are going to use it our sonar scanner, and this was the name given to the sonar scanner inside the Jenkins, and this is the name we are giving to our application inside the pipeline script, Java registration app, and this is my username on the Docker Hub, and this is the credential ID for the Docker Hub given under the Jenkins. And then I will start creating the stages, and the first stage would be clean workspace, which will clean our workspace. The stage name is clean workspace. It will clean the workspace. Okay, so next stage would be checkout from Git, in which it will clone the GitHub, sorry, Bitbucket repository. So the stage name is checkout from Git, branch is main, and this is the URL of my Bitbucket repository. If I go to Bitbucket repository, if you go to clone, you will get the URL to clone the repository here. The same we have used here. Okay, so next stage would be build package. Indentation should be correct, otherwise your build will fail. Okay, so in the build package stage, it will first go to directory web apps. If I go to my Bitbucket repository, so this is my uh, repository, and inside this we are having the web app folder. So it will go to that folder, web app, and then it will run the command ambient package, which will create the .var file out of our code. It looks okay now. So the next step would be SonarQube analysis in our code pipeline. So I will give the code for the stage. The stage name is SonarQube analysis, and this is the server name which we have given to SonarQube inside the Jenkins while defining the SonarQube server under the Jenkins. This name was given SonarQube-server. So we are recalling that server details here. Again, it will go to directory web app because all our code are under the directory web app in our repository. And then it will run this command for the SonarQube analysis. I will correct the indentations. Okay. And then next stage would be quality gate. So this is the token which we have added under the Jenkins for the SonarQube. So we are recalling the those credential ID. This was a name given to the SonarQube credentials under the Jenkins. So we are recalling the same here. Next stage in the pipeline script would be Artifactory configuration. So I will provide the code for the same. So here actually we are first defining the RT server, Artifactory server, and this is the name we are giving to the Artifactory server, JFrog-server, and this is the public IP of our instance. This one. And the credential ID we are recalling here JFrog, which we have added under the Jenkins for the JFrog Artifactory. And here we are defining the Maven deployer, and here we are defining the Maven resolver, and this is the name we are giving, Maven deployer and Maven resolver. Next stage in the pipeline script would be deploy artifact. So I will give the next stage. In this stage it will run the tool. This is the name we have given to the Maven tool, and the pom file path it is given here, webapp/pom.xml. If I go to my repository, inside the webapp folder I am having the pom.xml, the same path we have given here. So the goal is clean install, and the we are recalling the deployer ID and resolver ID here. Now the next stage would be publish artifact. And this is the server ID which we have defined above, JFrog-server. This detail it is recalling here again. with this bracket we are closing the stages, and with this bracket we are closing the pipeline. Indentation looks fine now. I will click on commit, and I will click here on approve. I will now go to Jenkins dashboard. I will click on new item. I will give the name to my job pipeline. Okay. Discard old builds. Max of builds to keep. I will type 2. GitHub project, and here I will provide my repository URL. I will not set any build trigger as of now. Pipeline script from SCM. SCM is git, and here I will provide my Bitbucket repository URL, and in the drop down I will select the Bitbucket credentials which we have added under the Jenkins. Branch I will select main. Script path Jenkinsfile. I will click on apply and then save. I will now go ahead and click on build now. Okay, so job completed here. If I go to the workspaces, of my Jenkins job, and if I go to this path on my server, I will go to web apps. I will go to target directory. So inside the target directory you can see this is the package which has been created by the pipeline script. And if I go to JFrog Artifactory console, I will click here on the left side and I will go to Artifactory, Artifacts, libs-release. I will expand it and I will go to com. I will expand it. So you can see the web app folder created here. I will expand this folder also. So this is the release and this is the artifact which has been uploaded to the JFrog Artifactory through our Jenkins job. And this is the URL for the artifact. One can copy this URL and download the artifact. So the artifact has been downloaded via this link. If I go to SonarQube dashboard, if I go to projects, so this is the our project name and this is the SonarQube analysis for our project. I will again go to my repository. I will go to Jenkinsfile. I will go to edit and on my Jenkins file I will add one more stage and the stage name is Trivi FS scan, which will do the Trivi scan of our code. I will now go ahead and add the next stage in our pipeline script, which is build and push Docker image. And this stage is actually going to build the Docker image and it is going to push the image to the Docker Hub. So it is recalling the variable Docker path which we have defined at the start, and it is recalling the image name. It is again the variable which we have defined at the start of the pipeline script, and this is the Docker path. This is the actually Docker Hub credential ID which we have given under the Jenkins, and then image tag which it is creating here. I will correct the indentations. It looks fine. I will now give the one more stage, which is tree image scan, and this stage is going to scan the Docker Hub image which we have built and pushed to the Docker Hub. So the stage name is tree image scan, and this is the command which it is going to run to scan the Docker Hub image. This is my username on the Docker Hub, and this is our application name which we have defined here at the start of the pipeline script. So it will give the similar name to the image, Docker Hub image. Okay, so after the tree image scan, I will give the one more stage called cleanup artifact, which will actually remove the Docker image from local system. Okay, it looks fine now. I will click on commit. Approve. I will again go to Jenkins pipeline and I will click on build now. Job completed. If I go to Docker Hub and do the refresh here, so the image has been pushed to the Docker Hub just now. On the Jenkins job, note down the build number. Build number is 2. And if I go to my Docker Hub image, it is having the tag 2 according to our build job on the Jenkins. It is having the tag. In this section of the video, we will set up the email notification for our Jenkins pipeline. I have logged into my Google account and I am under the myaccount.google.com. Your Google account should be two-factor authentication enabled. I will go to security and I will search here app password. I will give the name and I will click on create. I will copy the generated password on my local system because it will not appear again. I will go to Jenkins, manage Jenkins, credentials, add credentials, username with password. The username I will provide my Gmail ID and the password I will provide the created app password. ID I will give Gmail. Create. I will go to manage Jenkins, system, and I will go to email notification. SMTP server I will provide smtp.gmail.com. User suffix I will provide my Gmail ID. I will go to advanced SSL. SMTP port I will provide 465. Use SMTP authentication. Username I will provide my Gmail address and the password I will provide the app password which I have created, and I will click on test configuration. Recipient email address I will again provide my Gmail ID here and I will click on test configuration. Email sent successfully. If I go to Gmail, I have received the test email. I will now go to extended email notification. SMTP server I will provide smtp.gmail.com. Port I will give 465. Advanced credentials I will select my Gmail credentials. Use SSL. Here I will provide my Gmail ID. Default content type I will select HTML. And I will click on default triggers. I will select always and success. I will click on apply and save. I will now go to Bitbucket repository. I will go to Jenkinsfile and I will click on edit. At the end of the stages, I will add the post here. Indentations looks fine now. This is the recipient email address and this would be the attachment to our email. I will click on commit. I will go to Jenkins pipeline and I will click on build now. Job completed. Note down the build number, which is 4. So this is the SonarQube analysis for our project. And if I go to JFrog, so the artifact has been updated here. And if I go to Gmail, I have received the email after the completion of the job from the Jenkins, which is having the tree scan result attached and complete build log attached. Next task is to set up the EKS cluster. Before we install the EKS cluster, we will have to install the kubectl, AWS CLI and ekctl in our EC2 instance. So first of all, I will install the kubectl. I will give the command on the terminal of my EC2 instance to install the curl. Then I will download the kubectl package and then I will execute it. Now if I give the command kubectl version. So this is the version of the kubectl which has been installed in my EC2 instance. Now I have to install the AWS CLI. So first of all, I will download the package for the AWS CLI. I will install the unzip. I will unzip the downloaded package. And then I will execute the file. If I give the command aws -f1 version, so this is the AWS CLI version installed in my server. Next task is to install the ekctl. So first of all, I will give the command to download the package for the ekctl into the temp directory. Then I will go to /tmp directory, and then I will move the ekctl file to the /bin directory, as all the executable files are under the /bin. Now if I give the command ekctl version, so the ekctl has been installed in my system. I will go to AWS dashboard. Actually now I have to create the role and attach that role to the EC2 instance. I will go to IAM, roles, create role, AWS service. In the drop down I will select EC2. Next I will give the administrator access to the role. Next I will give the role name, create role. Role created, I will go to EC2 instance. I will select the instance. I will go to actions, security, modify IAM role, and from the drop down I will select my role, update IAM role. I will again go back to terminal of the instance, and now we will install the EKS cluster. So I will give the command. This would be the cluster name. I will provide the region for my Kubernetes cluster. Then I will give the node type, and I am going to use the T2 small. Then I will provide the node count. which is I'm going to create 3 nodes. This cluster creation will take some time, so I will pause the recording here and I will resume it once the Kubernetes cluster creation completed. EKS cluster creation completed, and note down this path where the kubeconfig file has been saved. If I give the command kubectl get nodes, so these are the 3 nodes created in my cluster, and this is the default service for my cluster. I need to now download the secret file for my Kubernetes cluster. So I will open the duplicate tab and on the left side I will go to .cube folder, and this is the config file for my cluster, or you can say credential file for the Kubernetes cluster. I will download this file I will go to the downloaded folder. I will open the secret file and I will save a copy, and I will give the name as secret.txt. Next task is to integrate the Kubernetes with our Jenkins and configure our pipeline script to deploy the resources on the Kubernetes. So first of all, I will go to my Jenkins dashboard. I will go to manage Jenkins, plugins. Actually, I need to deploy the plugins required for the Kubernetes. I will go to available plugins, and here I will search Kubernetes, and I will select these plugins: Kubernetes Client API, Kubernetes Credentials, Kubernetes CLI, and I will click on install. Plugins installation completed. I will go to manage Jenkins, credentials, add credentials. Here actually I need to add the credential file for the Kubernetes to the Jenkins. Kind I will select secret file. ID I will provide Kubernetes. I will select the secret file generated in the previous step. I will click on create. I will now go to my repository on the Bitbucket. So in my repository, this is the Kubernetes folder which is having the manifest files. I will open the Jenkins file. And I will add the one more stage called deploy to Kubernetes. It looks fine now. So in this stage, it will first go to Kubernetes folder where we have kept our manifest files, and this is the credential ID for the Kubernetes created under the Jenkins, and using this command it will apply the manifest file for the deployment, and through this manifest file it will create the service, and using this command it will roll out the deployment if there is change on the Docker Hub image, and this is the name of the deployment under our deployment manifest file. I will commit the changes. If I go to Kubernetes folder, so this is the deployment manifest file. This is the deployment name, and this is the app name. This app name we will recall in the service manifest file under the selector, and our deployment will create the two pods, and this is the image name on the Docker Hub, and this is the container port 8080. If I go to service manifest file, so this is the service name, and under the selector we have recalled the app name, which is the register-app, and this is the target port, which is our container port 8080, and it will open the external port 80, and the service type is load balancer, which means we will be having the public URL. Before we verify our CI/CD pipeline, we will first set the webhook trigger. I will go to Jenkins, configure, under the build trigger, I will click here on build when a change is pushed to Bitbucket, and on the place of override repository URL, I will put my repository URL. If I go to Bitbucket and go to clone, so this is the URL. I will copy it from here and I will paste it here. I will click on apply and save. I will go to Bitbucket repository, and on the left side I will go to repository settings, webhooks. I will click on add webhook. Title I will give Bitbucket webhook, and the URL I will provide http://public IP of the EC2 instance, colon 8080 slash bitbucket hyphen hook and slash. Do not forget the slash at the end. Triggers already selected to push. I will click on save. I will now open the git bash in my local system, and on the bash I will first define my username with these two commands. Then I will go to my repository, clone. I will copy the command and I will provide it here. clone completed, I will go to my repository. I will open the readme file and I will type here test99, control O and enter to save, control X to exit. I will now stage the changes. Git add dot, I will commit the changes and then I will push the changes to the remote repository. While pushing the changes to the remote repository, you might need to provide the app password of the Bitbucket here, which we had created initially. I will go to personal access token. This is my username on the Bitbucket, and I will provide the app password here. Okay, changes push to remote repository. If I go to Jenkins, so you can see here our pipeline has been triggered upon the changes to the remote repository automatically. Job completed. If I go to Bitbucket repository and do the refresh here, changes are available on the remote repository. And if I go to SonarQube and do the refresh here, so this is the SonarQube analysis for our project. If I go to JFrog and do the refresh here, so the artifact has been modified just now on the JFrog Artifactory. And if I go to Docker Hub and do the refresh here, so image has been pushed to Docker Hub just now. And if I go to the details of the image, so note down the tag 6 here, which is similar to our build number on the Jenkins job 6. If I go to my email, I have received the email from the pipeline with the attachment. I will go to terminal of my server, and if I give the command kubectl get pods, so these are the pods created. Remember, in the deployment manifest file we had mentioned replicas 2, so 2 pods are created. And if I give the command get service kubectl get service, so this is the load balancer service and this is the DNS name for our application. I will copy the DNS name and I will browse it on the new tab. So this is the Apache Tomcat homepage. If I give the slash web app, so this is my application. We will test our pipeline once again. We will do the small change on our application and we will see the changes appears on the application or not. So I will go to git bash. I will go to web app. I will go to src folder, then I will go to main folder, then I will go to web app folder, and inside the web app folder index.jsp file is available. I will open this file and in this file at the end below the thank you, I will add this line, see you again. Control O and enter to save, Control X to exit. I will stage the changes. I will commit the changes. And finally, I will push these changes to the remote repository. Again, it is asking for the token to be provided. Changes has been pushed to remote repository. If I go to my Jenkins job, so it has triggered automatically upon the changes on the Bitbucket repository. Job completed. I will go to my application and do the refresh here. So the changes has been applied to my application. By this way, you can create the complete automated CI/CD pipeline using Bitbucket, Terraform, Jenkins, SonarQube, JFrog Artifactory, and the Kubernetes. While practicing this project, if you face any kind of difficulty, you can ask me in the comment section. I will definitely answer to your query. Complete content of the Terraform files and all the commands used in this video are available in the description section. Follow me on the LinkedIn. I post multiple useful things on the LinkedIn also. After practicing this project, post it on the LinkedIn and tag me also. Hope you find this video helpful. A lot of effort went behind this video, so do subscribe to my channel to encourage my work. Like this video, share this video with the friends and spread the knowledge. I will see you in the next video. Thank you.